Okay, so I want to take a brief look here at the making law in the House. And we're not going through the entire process. I'm abbreviating this process to a certain extent. But I want to briefly talk about some of the key terms, some of the key aspects of making law in the House. We're not going to go through the entire bill becomes a law process here, but you'll get some idea for it. Cover my head. The ideas may come from special interest groups or private citizens. Okay, in fact, special interest groups write a lot. Special interest groups write a lot of the much of the legislation, or suggest much of the legislation. Senators and representatives sponsor it, but I guarantee that a lot of it's and the president drives some of it, but I guarantee a lot of it is special interest groups. There are different types of bills or resolutions. The public bills, like tax increase or war policy, those are the ones you're most used to maybe seeing. Those are the ones that probably garner the most news coverage. Private being applied to a certain group of people, like a Native American group or something, or a special group of people, and those are private bills. A joint resolution has the force of law when passed, like a point of action, declaration of war, an alteration date of moving Congress, congratulations, condolences, something along those lines. Disapproval or approval of certain actions or executive actions, joint resolution. Concurrent, both House and Senate. This kind of explains government positions, correction of conference reports, adjournment, recess, a budget resolution. And a resolution is again one of those things that are measured in with some manner in one house, which is not of the force of law. It doesn't require the president's signature. In other words, it's Congress's position on a matter, a joint resolution. And then you have the rider. A rider is like when a congressperson is trying to get something of some sort of appropriation passed for a specific purpose and will attach something totally unrelated to a bill as a rider, trying to maybe sneak it in there as a rider, an unrelated provision to an important bill that will ride through the legislative process because, they want these particular aspects of a bill, so they're willing to deal with the rider. So again, these are the aspects of the different legislation. So I'm going to leave this different types of legislation that might pass. I'm going to leave this in this here, and then obviously you'll be able to freeze it at certain points to be able to get this down. And that should not have an apostrophe. There you go. A standing committee, we talked about when you talked about committees. Standing committee is those permanent committees in Congress that deal with legislation. Standing committees reject most bills and pigeonhole them. Pigeonhole means to just put them in committee; they won't come out; they'll die in committee. And those bills are no longer considered. This is where most bills go to die, is in committee. Okay, and a committee can take 5 different actions on a bill: recommend passing it, pigeonhole it, keep it in committee, present the bill with changes or amendments. In other words, re-present it to the main House floor, make unfavorable comments, or present an entirely new bill as a replacement. Usually they'll do something along the lines of usually what happens if they want it, if it doesn't die, they'll present the bill with some sort of changes or amendments in addition to making some unfavorable comments. Usually trying an entirely new bill sometimes, but no, usually it's going to be changes or amendments or some sort of unfavorable comments in addition to. And the Rules Committee is that committee that decides when a bill will be taken from a calendar and discussed on the floor. So in other words, the Rules Committee is very important in the House because along with the Speaker, because they decide when a bill is going to be taken to the House floor or even if it will get a vote. Okay, so that's the brief process of it in the House, and I've looked at it, and there's a whole slightly different process for looking at things, looking at how a bill passes in the Senate, but that is on a separate video. So you can obviously pause this at certain points to figure out what you need to get. Kind of going back through, you can pause this obviously at certain points to be able to get done what you need.